In the Pixel Remaster of Final Fantasy II, they make a few changes from the original. One difference has to deal with the back row. Characters and enemies in their back rows can now attack and be attacked with close-range actions, but their potency is cut in half. Additionally, the 3 penalties that come with increasing certain stats have been removed. This makes maxing out your characters quicker. That sounds like easy mode to me, but one of the changes I do like is that the magic interference score is added to the item descriptions, which helps you plan your party better. The beginning of this video will be with my new upscaler, but later on we'll switch back to the CRT filter. Let's see what the residents of Gatrea have to offer us. This little house here that we're standing next to is like a TARDIS. It's much bigger on the inside. Now this was a nice touch to the remakes of this game. They make the interior of this building equal to the size of the exterior. Now let's see what the town of Gatrea has to offer in terms of items and equipment. There's the same item shops that we considered in Altair in our last video, but in the weapons and armor shops we have a few different types of weapons if you wanted to start building up some proficiency. But it's interesting to note that the bow, which was given to Maria at the outset, who has the most intelligence out of anyone, has some of the highest magic interference scores. One of the things that I love about Gamer Corner guides is that you mainly get an education about how the game works. He does have a walkthrough, but the information that he gives before that is like an exhaustive instruction manual. It really helps you to chart your own path with the power of knowledge, rather than immediately begin holding your hand. Now you can see we don't get into Castle Fynn. I'm pushing the control pad in the direction against it, but we can get into the town of Fynn. We have to use a bit of stealth in the town of Fynn, but not a true stealth activity. Just don't talk to the soldiers. If you do talk to the soldiers, you will initiate an impossible battle at this point in the game. Now you could go about power leveling your characters, or manipulating a glitch that has to deal with the use of spell scrolls to take out these soldiers, but canonically, fighting these soldiers is to be avoided. So we're sneaking into the city of Fynn to see if we can find out where Leon is. There are soldiers guarding significant doors, and that's an empty house in the bottom left. We'll come back to that later in the game. For now, we're looking for the pub that we learned about in Gatrea, and we have to go around the northern edge of town to access it. Watch out for random encounters as you do so. Inside the pub, all of these soldiers will attack you. They can see you, you can walk right past them, and walk up against them, just don't interact with them. Let him know that we are not Imperial soldiers. Hopefully he's whispering. In the room with the wounded soldier, we have 3 chests, each containing a potion. Such a sad story. Unlike the last game, our first objective isn't a valiant quest to save a princess in distress, it's to find out what happened to our surviving family, if he even survived. And then, while searching for our surviving family, we find a soldier gravely wounded from battle, and we are inadvertently charged with his dying words to his loved ones. It's quite a weighty beginning to this game, compared to the last one. Now, on the way out of the pub, I noticed that the magic shop was not guarded, so I walked around to see if there was anything inside. Nothing. So we head out to the world map, and we will take this information that we have learned from the dying Prince of Kashuan back to Altair. But yes, such a somber tone to the story, the effects and the consequences of war. At the same time, it doesn't necessarily bring me down, because our three main characters, even though they've lost so much, are hopeful. Right at the beginning of the game, they're taking action. They want to join the rebellion. They want to search to find their lost brother. Is it really a rebellion, though? Now, once we get back into the town of Altair, the first thing that we're going to do is finally pick up an offensive spell for Maria to begin leveling up as our offensive caster. Let's talk to Gordon first and share his brother's final words with him. And then we head back to the the Rebel base. And we bring heavy news to Princess Hilda. Just look at the dynamics between Scott and Hilda, how Firion carries the message, and how much of Scott's dying words he conveys. But now Hilda sees that we are capable, she allows us to join the rebellion, and gives us a very important mission. This important mission starts with us gaining the character that I hear nothing but good things about, Minwu. And his canoe as well. Let's take a look at Minwu's equipment and status to see just what a powerhouse we have on our team compared to the three main characters' current stats. He will be a real boon to our weaker party, and he has all the white magic. That's an exaggeration. But here is an explanation of what the different spells do, but keep in mind that the Protect spell is bugged and it does not work on anyone other than the caster. Now if we go back to Princess Hilda after Minwu joins our party, she has a few more terms to teach us before we leave. And here is our very first series reference to a character named Sid. Don't let the remakes of the original Final Fantasy fool you. You heard it here first. With as much criticism as the keyword system gets, it is a great way to keep track of the key points of the story. Grandpa doesn't think we can hack it.
That's all I needed. That's all I needed for him to do that, and it became personal with me.
Now let's go back and talk to the king. He has a lot more to say now. The loss of Prince Scott echoes through the realm, it seems. Here's a little insight on our next mission. So he didn't know what we were talking about when we mentioned the Wild Rose before, but now, with the knowledge that Prince Scott gave us, he does have something to say. Now we can talk to everyone in town. They all have new things to say about our new objective. Prince Gordon has something to say about Mythril and the Dreadnought. Tobul, the rebellion's #1 blacksmith, has something to say about Mythril, but he doesn't know much about airships. Now here is when I saved my game, looked at the recording, and realized that the upscaler had a flicker in the recording that it did not have in my playthrough on the TV. And since I already saved my game, I did not want to start the game all over again to re-record this portion, so we had this upscaler with the flicker up until now. You might say, why didn't you just save over one of the previous save files and then review the footage? Well, it's an old habit, but I don't like to save over another gamer's file. It's illogical in this case, I know, and honestly, if I really wanted to, I would save over one of those files. But just an old gamer habit. Now we can showcase Minwu's battle sprite and Maria's new ability. She has become a key player in this party. Now we've obtained the canoe, and using the canoe is a little different in this game compared to the last game. You will have no enemy encounters whenever you are using a canoe. This is handy when it comes to traveling long stretches and carrying as much HP and inventory with you as possible heading into a dungeon. Here in the town of Paloom, we have a few offerings from the town shops, some bronze equipment that will give us a nice boost to our defense, but if you really look at the stats, the copper cuirass is actually better than the bronze armor that we will see for sale later. It boasts similar defense and better evasion, but also a lower magic interference score. Whether you're gearing up a caster or a physical attacker, it is overall better than the bronze armor. We have a better shield for Firion as well at the weapon shop, and 3 new spells for a white mage: Blink, Protect, and Shell. But remember, Protect is bugged and only works on the caster. We have a sailor right at the entrance, and we can pay him 32 gil to take the boat to our next town, but I want to prove that old man in Altair wrong. And in a less emotional motivation, I would like to get some more experience and gil for our party. So we're going to walk. I wonder if Paloom is where the name Paloom from Final Fantasy IV came from. Now, as we mentioned before, weapons have a magic interference score, so I'm going to do something a little differently with Maria. I'm going to unequip her weapons now that she has magic, so that there is no magic interference at all from the weapon side of things. At the same time, you will lose the evasion bonus that weapons give you. Keep that in mind as well. So here is what riding in the boat looks like, just so that you can see the full experience of this game. But I am going to take a walk from Paloom to Poft, and here are the enemies that we will encounter along the way. We see a stronger version of enemy types making their appearance, but it shouldn't be too threatening though. And here is the town of Poft. The weapons, the armor, the items, the magic, exactly the same as Paloom. But in this little town of Poft, there is a very significant piece of Final Fantasy history. Here is another sailor that you can talk to if the boat is here, and you can rent the boat to go back to Paloom. And in the pub, all of these pilots or pirates or sailors, they all say the same thing. The scuttlebutt around the pub is all about the terrible dreadnought being built in Bafsk. But here, against the right wall, we find the very first Cid of the Final Fantasy universe, in this unassuming pub. You can have a conversation with him about airships, but right now all you can do is hire him to take you to different places. He also has a low opinion of the dreadnought. You can talk to his cohort at the table, but getting anywhere on the airship is a luxury now, at least to me it is. We can walk around and gather a little more information on our way to find Mythril. So we head north to the town of Salamand. Now we could head east and south to get to Bafsk and find a very nice piece of armor. You will also find people who don't want to talk to you. They're very quiet. But we'll just head north because our mission is taking us to find Mythril. Salamand was translated Salamando by the fans, but the official translation calls the town Salamand. Here are the shops that we will find in Salamand, and you will see a new piece of armor, the bronze armor, but like we said before, the copper cuirass is just going to be better. We have 3 new weapons, an axe, a long sword, and a bow. Now just look at the spells for sale. These are the names used in the first official English translation, Final Fantasy Origins. But these names are not consistent with how these spells are used throughout the series. In this game, Banish has the ability that is normally given to Warp, and Warp has the ability that is normally given to Teleport. So I was at a conundrum. How should I translate them in this playthrough? Do I translate the names as we know them today? One of the keys to translating is to make sure the right thought is conveyed, but in a product that came from a time that affected English localizations, is conveying the proper thought taking away from the authenticity of the history? Should I do a literal rendering? Eventually, I just decided to go with the way the spells were described in Final Fantasy Origins. But now let's talk practical. Something to know about Warp is that using it costs HP, and the higher you level it, the less HP it costs. Leveling up Banish will make it so that you can eventually warp out of the dungeon at 0 cost to your hit points. But leveling either one of these spells is tedious. They can both be used in battle as a one-shot KO, but neither one is reliable, so you will miss quite often. Also, it is nice to keep Warp low so that it only costs 1 MP to leave the dungeon. Now we're here to look for Josef, but we see trouble in this town. All of the men are gone, except for the shopkeepers. We don't get a lot of information on this love interest of Josef's. Unless maybe she's just a secret admirer? Notice how we can use the keyword system, but nothing really works. In future versions of this game, they removed the option of using the keyword system with characters that don't really use it. Here is Josef, and in our introductory conversation, Josef is acting a little fishy. Here he's straight up dodgy. But it seems pretty straightforward. He wants us to help the town before he helps us. If this was a modern RPG, each of these ladies would have some mundane side quest for us. Now, one of the perks that comes from the ring Prince Scott gave us is that if you hold B and press select, like in the previous game, you can see a world map. This world map, although aesthetically improved, is far inferior to its predecessor. It moves very slow to get to what you're trying to look at. But as you can see, we're going to head beyond the mountains to the south. Now, that doesn't mean our destination is necessarily to the south, it's just beyond the mountains to the south. So we can go the long way and wrap around the east and south side of the mountains, which would involve backtracking to get above the waterfalls in front of the cave. Or we can go to the west to reach a river along the way so that we don't have to fight as many random encounters, which means we will enter the Semitt Falls Cave with more resources. And I know I sound like a cranky old man, but I think side quests have gotten out of control. Sid's gotta be teasing us. Side quests should be like cinnamon or any other seasoning. Just use enough to enhance the main experience. Here is the long river that leads to the entrance of the cave. And what do we do before entering a dangerous area? We save the game. Now here is our first real dungeon of the game. The only tricky thing to this cave, aside from the trap rooms that are a staple of this game, is that we have two objectives. One is found on the 4th floor of this dungeon, and the other is on the 6th. Because I have not power leveled, I will only get so far before we run out of resources and have to head back to town. But I enjoy that, more than moving back and forth in the same spot to level up. Resource management and deciding how far into a cave I can go before I have to leave to survive. Planning an exit strategy beforehand. We're going to talk about the trapdoors a little bit later into this dungeon, but here are the enemies that we will encounter in this cave. A couple of them are making their debut in this game, either entirely or at least in their appearance. We can ignore that blue rock, that's for later. So, the rebels. Are they really rebels? Don't you have to be resisting the authority while living within the jurisdiction of the oppressor? In this story, it's the surrounding independent kingdoms that form an alliance to stop a conqueror and to defend their own land when invaded. And when they lost, they fled to an area that was still not in control of the oppressor. I think the writers were stretching the term to get a kind of Star Wars feel to the story. It's funny, one of my viewers took exception to me comparing Final Fantasy to Star Wars. I said that Final Fantasy was the Star Wars of video games. But Final Fantasy uses the plot device of an evil empire over and over again. In this game, we see a rebel alliance, and Final Fantasy uses recurring characters named Biggs and Wedge. Here's the first appearance of the bomb enemy. You want to take them out in one shot or quickly, because once their HP is anything less than 100%, their next move will be a self-destruct, which isn't really that bad in this game unless there are a bunch of them. In other Final Fantasies, their self-destruct can be a one-shot kill against one of your characters. Some treasure in this cave is good, some is pointless. Now going around and north through this water, we will approach the trapdoor system. Now only one of these doors will take us to the next floor, the other 3 will take us to one room with nothing in it but a high enemy encounter rate, which means we will likely get into a fight before we can get out of the room. And in these trapped rooms, we normally fight the stronger enemies of the level, enemies we may normally find on later floors of the dungeon. So let's go into one for demonstration purposes. Okay. Nothing there. Maybe that was just a fluke. Let's go into this second one. Okay, still nothing. I swear I'm not editing this. Okay, so why are these rooms so hated? Let's go back in and walk around until we get into an actual fight with one of the heavies. Well, these guys aren't heavy at all. Let's get into another fight. Okay, this is more like it. Zombies are normally found at the bottom floor of this dungeon. This Final Fantasy introduces the concept of using curative abilities on zombies and other undead to defeat them, so Minwu can make short work of these guys. Now Maria has run out of mana points. I could just give her the bow at this point and continue through the dungeon, but I really want her to be a capable offensive caster, and we can take some of the money that we have obtained in our dungeon run to buy better equipment in Salamand. The warp spell takes us out, leaving Minwu with only 1/16 of his health. We will heal him up, save our game, head back to town, stay at the inn, and buy a little bit of equipment. Now remember, we're in the process of finding Mythril. Once we do, Tobul is going to hook us up. Not that he's going to give us anything for free, but he will make much better equipment than what is available to us right now. So I'm going to buy what I need and try to save my money. One thing I'm going to do is buy some gloves for Guy and then take his old gloves, since the magic interference score isn't that high, and give them to Maria. Maria currently does not have any gloves equipped. I already did the same with the leather helm. So then we head back outside to the west and up the river to return to the cave, save our game before entering, and we return where we left off at the trapdoors. On this floor, there is a treasure chest that contains 1 gil. It could be considered a waste of a trip, but as a recovering completionist, I can't help myself. Here is the first time we find the slime monsters. Now in the previous game there were slime monsters, but in this one they take on a dessert name and a general appearance that we will see for the rest of the series. As with most of the games that we find them in, their physical defense is extremely high, but their magic defense is significantly low. More trapdoors, and again, the leftmost door is the right one. In this room, all of the slaves, the men from Salamand, say the same thing. And it's interesting, in the remakes of this game, these bones in their prison are replaced with tables and barrels. Maybe they thought keeping the bones was a little too intense. Josef's daughter Nellie. And our familiar acquaintance, Paul. Paul explains to us why Josef was so dodgy before. The prisoners are free and Maria is out of mana points again, but before we go back out to recharge, I want to head up this bridge because at the northernmost part of this portion of the room is a treasure chest containing a new elemental ability for her. So we will teach this to her, and then we will warp back out, head to town, and do our recharge as usual. Then we'll head back to the floor where we left off, take the north path to continue in the dungeon, now we could go straight north from here to continue in the cave, but if we cross this bridge and then go north and wrap around this wall to the right, we will find a treasure chest containing a warp scroll, or teleport, whatever you want to call it. No, these enemies are not guarding the treasure chest like they do in the previous game. In Final Fantasy II, treasures that are guarded by monsters activate once you open the chests, rather than when you stand on the tile in front of it. This chest does have a trap, so I'm checking my stats to make sure we're in good shape before we start the fight. This guy has very high defense both against physical and magical attacks, but he is very weak to the Blizzard ability, an ability that no one in our party currently has. So I'm going to have Minwu cast an evasion boosting ability, Blink, to try to mitigate the damage. Remember, Protect is bugged and only works on the caster. The fight continues on until Maria wraps things up. Now notice how much gil we receive from this. Enemies in this game always drop something, even if it's gil, so when you see a 0, that means at least one item is on the way. And in this case, we have an even better shield for Firion, which is great, but I wish I knew that before I bought Firion that bronze shield. You can do a little item management if your inventory is full when an enemy drops an item, and then leave the menu. Warp is an ability that does not require use in battle. It also does not take a lot of MP, so I gave that scroll to Guy so that he can have some utility outside of battle. So the slimes, the bombs, the battle system, and even more as we go forward. Do you see how this game was the genesis of so many staples to the series? all of these things that make Final Fantasy what it is today started in this game, the least favorite game of the series. The Sergeant is a boss. Later in the game, he will be a standard enemy. But for where we are right now, he has very high defense and very strong attacks. And spells are going to be our best bet. I really should have gone out one more time to town, bought a better weapon for one of them, and then returned with a little more strength for my 2 physical attackers. So the battle continues at a grueling pace, but thanks to Minwu's healing abilities, victory is all but certain. This is our first KO that we need to address. Raising only brings back so many hit points, so we have to supplement that. Talk about kicking us while we're down. At least Maria is in the back row. Now this is an important plot point. Now that we have obtained the Mythril, we have actually taken all of it away from the Empire. So this is quite a significant advantage we have gained. We use Warp to head out, save our game, and head back to town. So come on, why is this the least favorite game in the series if it brought so many of the staples that we know and love today, along with a really good story? I know the battle system comes under heavy criticism, but not enough to warrant the bad reputation that this game carries among the majority of fans. I think the general American reputation of this game suffered because it wasn't released at the same time it was released in Japan. Back in the town of Salamand, the men have returned and the village is whole again. We have encouragement from the townspeople what to do with the Mythril. And here's a little hint about that blue stone that we came across at the beginning of the Semitt Falls cave. And now that Josef has his daughter back, shoot higher, lady. Maybe he will be more willing to talk. So Josef's original deception was twofold. He both told us how to find the Mythril and how to save his daughter. Or maybe he didn't know where his daughter was and just lucked out that he sent us to the same cave as the Mythril to find her. Everyone tells us the same thing. Get the Mythril back to Hilda. So let's go. After this lady gets out of our way. So anyway, by the time Americans saw this game, we already saw a refined version of Final Fantasy with the staples we know and love, minus the battle system. But we have to appreciate this game for what it is, and for how it set up the rest of the games in the series that came after it. Honestly, it's more Final Fantasy than the original. We're going to bring the Mythril to Hilda. She and the rest of the rebels are overjoyed, but we have to bring it to Tobal for anything to be done with it. Now the shops in Altair contain Mythril weapons and armor. I'm about to make a bad move and buy Firion a weapon which will drain our bank account, because I forgot, the surrounding towns also sell Mythril equipment, but it is only here in Altair that we can get Mythril armor. But we can manage. Now that the rebellion has a significant advantage with our Mythril equipment, it's time to report back to Hilda and find out what the next phase of our adventure is.